Hello, welcome to Model Aviation Live. I'm your host, Jay Smith, executive editor of Model Aviation magazine. And you may recall if you watched the last show that I was going down to Florida to attend the Blue Max event, which is a World War I event. It was held in Ocala. The first event was held 16 years ago at Fantasy of Flight. That's Current Weeks's full-scale aircraft museum. And I was lucky enough, myself and my father attended the first event there at Fantasy of Flight, and it was there for a couple of years. And then it moved to the club field in Sanford, Florida. And the event got so big that this year they moved it to Ocala. So I was invited to come to the new event, at the new location, basically the larger event. So it was really exciting to go back and obviously I'm a big fan of scale and World War One. There's a 1/6 scale Sopwith pup hanging right above me from Balls USA. So I'm definitely a fan of World War One. I was going to share, they give out some really neat awards at the Blue Max, and I actually got an award, and this is it here, if you can see it. Basically, it says the Blue Max 2025, Jay Smith, Model Aviation Magazine, and support of the Blue Max. So that was really exciting. The medal on my award is a Medal of Valor. So it was really neat to be recognized by the event organizers, and the field in Ocala is just beautiful. It's 200 acres, and it's going to allow that event to continue to grow. And the people that I met from the club were, really excited about having the event. So really looking forward to seeing how that event continues to grow and add pilots. They were expecting 70 pilots this year, but the weather impacted that some. They actually had snow in northern Florida, and it prohibited some people to be able to drive to get to the event. And one of the days, one of the early mornings of the event, it was 21 degrees, which is pretty unheard of in Florida. And I know because I used to live in Florida. But I actually saw our guest there. We won't bring him out yet, but our guest was there flying. So we'll bring him out and talk to him. Another thing I want to share with you, if you get the digital edition, you've seen this, but if you get print, you haven't seen it. So my editorial in the March issue, I wrote about my father. And, you probably know, if you've read my editorials or if you know me, that my father is the reason that I'm in this hobby. He owned a hobby shop that's still open to this day. It's been open for 41 years in Pinellas County, in Pinellas Park specifically. And my dad got me flying in 1976. And, I did cars and I had boats and I did airplanes, obviously, and rockets and plastic models and all that. And I wrote about my father because, unfortunately, he was having some health issues. And it was obvious that his aeromodeling career was behind him, or as I said in this article, in the rearview mirror. And, I think it was difficult for my father to, no longer be able to participate in a hobby that he loved. So I kind of wrote a little bit about that and thanked him for, getting me into this great hobby and all the things that we did together. And, my plan had been to get him a copy of the magazine once it was published, because my dad had been a member for years and years and years. But about a year ago, he wasn't able to fly anymore, so he let his membership lapse. And so, I wanted to thank him and just recognize him. So there's this picture of my father and I, and that's at the club field, the Sarasota Silent Flyers. I had taken him to the club when that picture was taken. So I wrote this article, and, I knew my father had some health problems, but unfortunately, he passed away. Before this issue could get out to where I could share it with him, he passed away. My dad passed away just a few days ago. So, obviously it leaves a void. And, but I just wanted to comment that, a tribute to my father, and I really appreciate everything. And, my working at AMA and my being in the hobby, my love of the hobby all comes from my father. So I certainly thank him for that. And so anyway, just wanted to share. Let's go ahead and move to bring out our guest. I'm really excited to have Mike Barbee on the show with us. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Jay. Hi, everybody.
And Mike is in Florida right now, so
I
that's
am.
why he has a nice pool and nice backdrop,
I do.
unlike the snow and ice on the ground here in Indiana, which Mike is certainly familiar with.
Yeah.
Mike, so for those watching, that may not be familiar, could you kind of take us through a little bit about NASA history and what NASA's about, and kind of get people up to speed?
Sure, I'd love to. Uh, in case you're not familiar, NASA, which stands for National Association of Scale Aeromodelers, it's quite a long name, but anyway, we've been in existence this year. It'll make our 50th anniversary. So the gentleman that created NASA uh, and made it a special interest group through the AMA. So we're an AMA special interest group. His name was Bob Underwood. A lot of you guys probably remember Bob. He started, like I say, he started the NASA organization and everything. And then he was real instrumental in getting the United States involved in international competition through FAI. Uh, I think Bob was president for about 25 years or 26 years. And then shortly after that, and we lost Bob just a couple years ago. Okay, uh, shortly after that, John Gunther was our second president, and he was president for about 12 years. And the third president was Stan Alexander, who was president for about 10 years. And then Ed Terry was our fourth president, and he was president for just a little over a year. And then, because of Ed's health, I was asked to take over as president. So I've run for reelection as president of NASA for a couple times, but I've been president now for 16 years. This will be my 16th year. So that's kind of the history of the gentlemen that were past presidents of it. And what we are, like I said, is a special interest group for the AMA representing scale aeromodelers. Okay, now scale aeromodelers for radio control, for free flight, for control line, for rockets, and for helicopters. A pretty good size group there. And we represent all the scale modelers associated with those disciplines.
Yes, and so obviously NASA, National Association of Scale Aero Modelers, and wow, 50 years, Mike.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and we do have a quite nice uh, uh, memento for all those that pre-register and fly in the U.S. Nationals this year. I'll go ahead and talk about that real quick. But for all those that pre-register and fly, we have a nice cup that designates 50 years of NASA scale aero modeling, and then on the other side of the cup, it's 2025 U.S. Nationals, and that will be available free of charge to anybody that pre-registers and flies in the U.S. Nationals in July this year. And we'll talk about the date a little bit later. But since I've been president, uh, I thought I sent a picture of the past presidents, but I might not have. But I became president during the mint julep scale contest that we used to have in Kentucky at Rough River State Park. It is still, the mint julep is still one of the oldest scale contests in the United States, and it's run by Dale Arvin. But that's when I became president, and I had a few goals that I wanted NASA to achieve over the years, and some have worked, and some we're still working on. So I'll just go through a few of the things that I wanted to set up. Number one is I wanted to make the scale rules easy and reasonable for all modelers. In other words, make it easy to understand the scale rules and how to score, and also easy for them to join a contest and be able to fly in a scale contest. The next goal I had was to increase the membership, and I have done that. We are now at 164 members, and we will probably get up into the 200 because our membership ends. It's yearly, so it ends in December, and so the renewals are coming in now. And when I joined, my membership number was 15. So we've gone from about 25 to 30 when I joined, maximum, up to 164 now. And we also offer a lifetime membership. Our membership cost is $30 per year, and the lifetime membership is $400. So then also I wanted to increase the treasury of the organization so we could support the local contests. And I've done that by way of a raffle. We have a raffle, a big raffle every year. And through the money, and we have, I'll go over the raffle shortly, but we have all the donations from manufacturers we put in the raffle. And this allows us to offer each club around the United States that has a scale contest, we give them $500, a $500 grant. They get $250 a check made out to the club, and then we give them $250 worth of raffle tickets, which they sell, and then the club keeps the money. So that keeps our raffle going and keeps the club members aware of what we're giving away. This year, I think we're up to 16 scale contests around the country. So it takes a pretty good treasury to support that. And so that was one of my goals, and that is working right now. We've done that for the last 15 years. We've supported a scale contest in that regard. So then I'll just go over, in case you're watching and you think that you can talk your club into having a scale contest, I'll just go over the requirements real quick that it would take for you to get the $500 grant money. First of all, it has to be an AMA sanctioned event, and it has to be sanctioned to an AMA club, of course. You have to send a flyer of that event to our NASA website, which is nasascale.org. You have to use AMA rules, no deviation from the rules, but you can, however, add a specialty type event like EDF Jets is an event that a lot of clubs like to add because a lot of club members fly the EDF Jets. And then you have to send the results and pictures and a 3-paragraph comment on how the club did with the contest and who actually won in the different classes, okay? And you have to sign up 3 new NASA members. So those are the requirements. And from that, I think a lot of the clubs that had contests or wanted to have contests, I know I started a contest down here at Cape Coral 6 years ago. And this year was the 5th year. So next year they've already decided to have another contest. So it's really worked out well as far as the club goes, giving up 2 days of flying for the members. And this is a very large club here, 225 plus members. But they give up 2 days, but however, the club still doesn't have to have an outlay of any of their treasury at all to put on the contest. So that works out real well. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to do. And that just promotes more camaraderie, more scale events around the country. And that's what I'm striving to do.
Well, we got a comment from Pete B, which is probably Pete Bauer.
Oh, Pete Bauer, sure.
Yeah, sounds like a great deal for the club. The money would pay for nice trophies.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The club has no outlay for the trophies. And I found in the past that if the club gets behind and has a little snack bar or a little concession stand that sells the concessions, the club makes money there too. So it's a win-win, I think, if the club decides to have a scale contest.
Yeah.
So
And it's gone obviously great. It's worked out really great, and it's
it has.
making it grow so there's more events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've expanded this year to the west. We'll talk about that a little bit later. What I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about my other members of the board and of the officers. Okay,
Sure.
so the vice president, and he's from Indiana. He lives not too far from the Muncie area. The vice president of NASA is Steve Eagle. He's always been a scale modeler from all the last 15, 20 years that I've known him. And he's involved as the vice president. There, thank you. There's some pictures of us. The secretary is Jerry Gehring. He's from the New York, upstate New York area. The treasurer is Tim Dickey from Arizona, and myself, the president. And you can, if you are a member in good standing of NASA, you receive a monthly newsletter, and normally each of us write a little column about what's going on or something to do with scale. Jerry Gehring has done some real nice columns on building and tool techniques and stuff like that. And Tim Dickey has written articles about the scale contest in the West. And myself, I usually write about the scale contest and the other events coming up from time to time. So then the board members that we have, we might not have pictures for these guys, but the board members representing scale modeling is Dale Arvin, past vice president, Stan Alexander, past president of NASA. The replica newsletter editor is Peter Finn. The control line coordinator and FAI chairman is Peter Bauer. Okay, Peter just chimed in. The U.S. Nationals contest director is John Boyko. And we include the U.S. Nationals contest director because NASA supports the U.S. Nationals. That is our national contest each year. So that's why we have a board member and the contest director on our board, that whoever runs the U.S. Nationals. And a FAI, another FAI coordinator, and like a vice coordinator for FAI is Jack Buckley from the Massachusetts area. So that's a list of our board members, and we have our NASA website editor is Michael. His name is Mike Chilson with RC Scale Builder. Sorry, Mike, I just got a blank on your name, but Mike Chilson, he's the web manager and the manager of RC Scale Builder. He is also our website manager. And that, again, that is nasascale.org. So those are just a few of the guys that help me out in my job. And over the past 16 years, I have had great help. These guys have always chimed in, getting things done around the country that we need to get done, and it's really worked out well. I'd like to talk a little bit about one of the goals, and that was the FAI competition, if I might.
Yes, absolutely. And we have pictures too.
Okay, let's talk about that. So it had been about 20 years since the United States sent a team to the World Championships, the World Scale Championships. And this year, and just to back up a little bit, in 2023, we had at the U.S. Nationals, we had the team selection, okay? And by team selection, I mean we actually competed in FAI for a place on the team. So the top three were awarded a place on the team in what we call F4H, which is the equivalent to our sports scale in the AMA. In other words, the judging is from 15 feet. You fly 10 maneuvers, very similar to our regular judging. And the other category was F4C, which is also a radio control discipline, but it's judged like we used to do precision scale years ago. They take up to 2 hours to judge an airplane, and it's from zero footage. They can get right on top of it and judge it and compare it to your documentation. And we had one gentleman that competed in that category that won that category in 2023. Then we also had the control line category, which is F4B. That's control line scale. And we had 3 gentlemen that participated in that. And I'll just go through the team members now. In F4C, we had Tim Dickey, and that's his picture on the top right. And he competed with the Waco. And then in F4H, there's myself in the center, and my airplane was a Hawker Fury. And then next to me is Ben Andrus that competed with the Crop Duster. And then on the lower right side, there is Jack Buckley that competed with the Fairchild. And most of the models in that competition were 1/5 scale. Mine's 1/4 scale. I think Jack's is 1/4 scale, and Tim's is 1/4 scale. Ben Andrus's was a little smaller. I think it was 1/5. So then below them, you'll see the team members in F4B, which is the control line scale. And in the one picture where the 3 gentlemen are, there's Peter Bauer flying the Britain Islander. And in the center, there's Mike McHenry flying the L3 and Alan Goff flying the Newport. Those 3 gentlemen competed in the control line scale version of it. And they did very well. They actually won. They were the top team. Peter Bauer was number 1 in the class. Mike McHenry, I think, was 6th or 5th, and Alan Goff was 6th. I could be wrong there. Oh, here's the picture of them on the podium. So you see, and then the team manager, you see it right behind the flag, and that's our vice president, Steve Eagle. He served as team manager this year. And it wasn't very apparent to me how important the team manager was during that event, but all the communication between the pilot and the judges, or pilot and the contest director there, had to be done through the team manager. So Steve really worked hard for the week-long event, and really did a nice job of getting us in the flight order, getting us on time when we were expected to be there for static judging and flying and everything. And he had to go to a manager's meeting every morning, get the schedule, and then relay it to us, and then act as the liaison between us and the judges, us and the contest director there. So they did very well. They were the control line guys were first place. So I don't have a picture of the radio control team together. I think I might have. There might be one in there. Maybe yeah, there. Okay, here we. Yeah, there we are. We're on the right. Okay. So as far as our team went, I finished 19th. Ben Andrus finished 14th, and Jack Buckley finished 13th. And the 4 of us, our score combined to put us in 4th place. there was a disqualification in there, and we moved into fourth place. So we were very respected and very well welcomed for our participation. They were glad to see the United States was back and competing again on the international level, and they made it very apparent. I think I have a picture of one of the functions we have. We called it Nations Night. There it is. That's us at Nations Night. Of course, we all sat together, and then at the end, we just had some friends from Australia there, and we had some other friends. That it was a great night, and each nation brought something to Nations Night that represented their nation. And we took Cracker Jacks, Oreo cookies, and Kentucky bourbon. So it was very well received by the other nations, especially the Italians and the Germans. So we did have a great night that night. So that's kind of the wrap up for the we had great support from all of us on the team. We worked really well as a team. There's the team. So this is typical of, I think maybe I was getting ready to fly. I'm there in the middle, but this is typical. The whole team was out there for each of our flights. In FAI competition, you only fly one at a time. There's no other airplane in the air. You fly one at a time. You fly your 10 maneuvers, and you have a caller. Your caller, or they termed it a mechanic. Your caller, and then you as the pilot and the team manager were the only three allowed on the flight line at the time. But you could have support back behind the flight line, like you see there, for our team. So Tim Dickey put this together, and he was actually smart enough to ship all the chairs and all the umbrellas that we needed to participate on the flight line. So we had not only our models shipped in boxes, we had a box of our support items, the chairs and the umbrellas and that. So I don't know whether the people realize how much it costs to do this, but the cost was considerable. It was just about $50,000 to send the team for the hotel and the entry fees and everything involved. And the way we raised the money was from a raffle and donations. We had a lot of donations from individuals and a couple donations from corporations. So that's how we raised the money. And this year, to raise money for the FAI team, we have a donation from C&H Ignitions. It's a radial engine, a 100cc UMS radial engine. And all that money goes strictly to the FAI fund to fund our trip, which will be, I say our trip, again, we'll have to qualify for the team at the U.S. Nationals this year. And the trip is 2026 to England. We're going to fly at the club in Buckminster, England, in 2026. And that's going to be July of 2026. I think the event runs from July 5th to the 18th. So that's what our raffle tickets are available at nasascale.org on the website. You can purchase tickets there, and I don't know. There's a room set up there where you can make a purchase, and then you can there on the lower left there you see a picture of the engine. That's for the NASA FAI raffle. On the left there. I forget the name of the it's not PayPal, but there's a way just to donate, and we'll have tickets available at all the NASA contests this year. The tickets are already printed, they're out, and we're selling them, so they'll be available at all the contests.
You know, when you were talking about the pictures, Pete commented, "Boy, you guys like yellow planes."
Yeah, I do.
They're easy to see, right?
They're easy to see. That's right. That's right. They know me down here by my yellow airplanes, especially the club here in Florida. I have I have a big yellow Stearman. Of course, this one's yellow, and Tim's was yellow, and Ben's had yellow on it. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I'm curious, Mike, for those, you know, that haven't ever competed or taken an airplane out of the country, shipped an airplane out of the country, what all is involved in that? I mean, obviously you don't want anything to happen to your airplane. I'm assuming you have to make a crate or buy a crate. Could you kind of just share a little bit about your experience and shipping an airplane to another country?
Oh, sure. So my airplane, if we look here at my Fury, the tail is totally removable. Okay, the stabilizer comes off, the vertical fin and rudder come off, and then of course there's 4 wing panels. Okay, and the fuselage, and the landing gear is removable. So the box I built, the fuselage set in the box, right flat, and I built it out of 3/8 inch plywood. And I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't think I sent you one. But I built it out of that. And then inside, just the best we could with foam. You wrap the fuselage and pack it. And then the wings were in wing bags on each side of the fuselage. And then when I was running, and I made a separate box inside for the tools that could be shut and latched, you know, to keep the tools in. One thing we were not allowed to do is ship any batteries. Okay, we couldn't put batteries in there. My plane was electric, and we had to carry the batteries on board with us. So even though we shipped all this FedEx, we still could not ship batteries or fuel or anything in the box with the airplane. They were very strict on that. So once I got everything situated in there, I was kind of running out of room. So I actually fastened this horizontal stabilizer and elevator and rudder to the top of the box. So when I put the top on, it floated on the top and was all fastened in with Velcro and foam rubber. And then I screwed the box closed. And I know for a fact that they x-rayed all of them. And I wasn't worried. There was no batteries or anything in there. I did take glue. I did take quite a few tools, the tools necessary to put the airplane back together once I got there, you know, once we got to the field. And most of us, it took an entire day to get our airplanes assembled. The shipping it to Romania was a little different because some of them went to Paris, from Paris to Romania. Some went different parts of the country in Europe, all around Europe, to get to Romania. It just depended on how FedEx, and we got a good deal at shipping. Each box cost pretty close to $3,500 to $4,000 to ship. That's both ways. That's, you know, $1,500, $1,800 each way. But the critical thing was, don't ship anything in there that you shouldn't. Of course, I disassembled I took the engine off the front of mine because I didn't want any unnecessary vibration to loosen the motor mount or anything. So I took the engine off, and then of course, like I said, I carried four batteries, and my wife carried 4 batteries on the commercial flights that we flew to Romania. So it took me about a month to build the box and get it finished out. So none of us had peace of mind until we saw the airplanes in Romania. In other words, we were all worried about whether or not they would make it in one piece, and no damage to the box and that. And I think Ben Andrus, the gentleman that flew the crop duster, I think he had a little bit of damage to his, but that was repairable once we got there. And of course, it's a long way to go, especially if you try to think of everything you would possibly need if something did happen to damage the airplane, of how to repair it. So it did. It took a little over a month for me to finish the box for mine. So it takes a year to build the airplane. It takes half a year to test fly it, and then it takes you another month or so to build a box to transport it. And one thing we wanted to consider too, we thought maybe the airline would allow us to bring the planes with us. So we had a constraint of weight. They had to be a length plus the width plus the height, and that had to equal 115 inches. So we had that to work with, and it had to be less than 100 pounds. And that's if we shipped it on the airline with us. But we found Tim Dickey worked hard at finding a way to ship these through FedEx. And so that worked out best for us. And we also found that the trip to England is going to be considerably more reasonable shipping than it was to Romania.
I'm sure it was probably, obviously, I'm sure any competitor would let you borrow their tools, but I'm thinking it was probably hard to decide what tools to take.
It was. I weighed my whole toolbox, and I thought, there's no way that I can do this less than 100 pounds with that 35-pound toolbox in there, And that's another thing that it was hard for me for my first FAI competition to build an airplane less than 33 pounds, because 15 kilograms is the limit. So all the airplanes that you saw there in the pictures had to be less than 15 kilograms, 33 pounds. And that's weight without batteries. So the advantage I had was that the 4 batteries that I used for flight weighed about 6 pounds. And when I put them in the nose, that balanced the plane. So that I had that going for me. I learned from the King Air that I flew at Top Gun and those competitions of how effective the batteries can be to help you balance a plane. So it was, and like I said, the most exciting thing for me was to see the crate make it with no holes in it, not crushed or anything, and be there in one piece at the hangar when we got a chance to assemble our planes.
So when you built that airplane, did you build it with the thought of hopefully competing with it in the World Championships?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is not the plane that I qualified with. I built another airplane, which was an Aeronca L3 that I qualified with. That airplane made the exact weight and everything, but it was a 3rd scale airplane, and it was considerably larger than the Fury. And I wanted to do the Fury because it's an unusual airplane, and a little bit unusual. I like biplanes, and it was a little bit unusual, and I could find a yellow and aluminum one, so that's why I kind of shied to that. So when I finished that, I actually finished that about 4 months before we left for Romania, and I got test flights on it and everything. Got that all situated and all worked out, and then building the box. But I did specifically build this airplane for the FAI competition. And just like I said, if you're interested in competing for a place on the team for 2026, you have to do it at the U.S. Nationals this year, okay? There's a separate competition during the Nationals for FAI, and you can look up on the U.S. National schedule. But you have to keep in mind the airplane has to make the maximum weight and all that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the airplane that you're going to fly in the competition. It just has to be an airplane that qualifies in the FAI, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the one that you're going to fly. And in my case, it worked out because I flew the Aranca in the qualifiers and made the team. And during that time, I was building the Fury already, because you cannot build a competition airplane in a year. It's somebody might be able to. I can't. I'll just put it that way. I can't. So that's kind of the story on how. And the control line guys, they did great. They represented the United States tops. I mean, they were head and shoulders above some of the other, and we even had a Ukrainian team that flew in the control line. Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, Italy, Greece. I think they were the primary ones that flew in that discipline, control line. Yeah. So that was one of my goals years ago, to field another two FAI teams again, and it worked out. And with the representation and the support from the AMA. The AMA also supports us. Okay, they have a designated fund that they can draw from to help support us. And I think that we had about $3,200 to $4,000 in the AMA fund when we started our fundraising for last year. And this year it might be a little bit more. But like I said, it was about $7,000 per competitor as far as the support goes for transportation and the entry fee and the time while you're there. And that's another thing I might point out. The entry fee for FAI competition at the Nationals this year will be $100. Okay, that's just normal. And then the entry fee for the World Championships is $600. So the AMA, we put in the first 100, and then the AMA will cover the last part for the entry at the World Championships. And we kind of do that because we want a commitment from the modeler, if he makes the team, that he's going to follow through and support the whole team effort all the way through. Because we can send up to 6 team members. We can send 3 in F4C, 3 in F4H, and 9 team members, and 3 in F4B. So we can have 9 team members involved. And last year we had 7 total. So there's room for 2 more. So that's it for the FAI. And I've always wanted to do it. I've been flying scale models for about the last 35 years, and it was a goal that I really wanted to achieve, and it was well worth it, well worth the effort all the way through. And I'd like to see more of the modelers get involved in that part of the scale modeling, the FAI part.
Well, obviously, congratulations to everyone that took part, and it'll be interesting to see, what the next teams based on competition this year. For someone who might be considering, going to the U.S. Nationals and wanting to go and compete in the world level, any quick thoughts, input, or advice for someone that maybe is on the fence thinking about doing it?
The most important thing, and because the most important thing I found is that your documentation. That's a big part of your score, of course. Okay, most that want to compete at that level are good pilots. Okay, so documentation is really important. My airplane was a little obscure, so I had some artist renditions and some pictures out of magazines and journals of the airplane that I modeled, but I didn't have the exact very top view, straight on side view, straight on front view of my model. They were just a little bit off. It was too late to abandon my desire to compete with that model and build another model. However, this year, for 2026, if I make the team, I'm building a twin engine. It's called a Percival Petrel, and it was a twin engine, a liaison airplane used by the British in the Second World War. And I do have better pictures and better documentation of that. So as a tip, and there's a lot of helpful things on our website, and I'd be glad to help anybody that would want to email me or get a hold of me about how to assemble your documentation. But that is one of the most important things, and actually, the better it is, the more it helps the judges, and the more it helps you with your score as far as the static score. The flying part of it is a little different. They approach the maneuvers a little different, and that's easy to learn. That's very easy to learn. Basically, the maneuvers are the same as we do. The mandatory one, of course, is you have a takeoff, you have your flyby, you have your figure eight, and you have a descending 360-degree circle and a landing. Those are the mandatory maneuvers, and then you pick 5 more to show the airplane the way it should perform. So, but it's almost the same as our scale judging maneuvers that we have.
Pete gave some feedback as well.
Okay, good.
He said, I found that I need to practice more. The score on every flight got better as I became more comfortable with my routine. I want 50 flights before the team trials in July 2025.
That's a very good point. Yeah, it's just like any airplane. The more you fly it, the more you learn it, the more you know. Now, in my case, I came to Florida and I brought 6 airplanes, but I did not bring that airplane. However, I do have an airplane that flies very, very similar to it. So when I go out to fly, I do the maneuvers. I do the same maneuvers I did in Romania just to practice. And my Stearman flies very similar to my Fury. So I am looking out for that. But the Fury doesn't transport well the way my trailer was set up. That's the only reason I didn't bring it down.
Yeah, gotcha.
Practice is very important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about another raffle that we have going.
Okay.
And like I mentioned previously in the show, NASA sends $500 to the club that supports a scale contest. So in order to do that, we have a raffle, the NASA scale raffle each year, and we rely on manufacturers and hobby shops and people to help us out with the raffle and donate items that we can give away. And this year, from CY Models, Texas Warbirds, they donated a Sky Raider. You see it there on the top. And from Valley View RC, they donated a DLE 50. And from our friends at Futaba, they donated a Futaba, I think it's an XT14 radio and all the servos. From our friends at Electrodynamics, they donated A123 batteries and switches and harnesses. And from Warbird Pilots, he donated a Warbird Pilot for the airplane. So the airplane was all those parts were donated by the manufacturers and CY Models and Texas Warbird, Texas Warbirds. But NASA, we build it. So when it's done, it is absolutely 100% ready to fly. You don't have to do anything extra to it or anything. So right now, because because I'm down here, and then later on this month I have some other stuff going on health wise. But Steve Eagle is heading the building of the model, and he told me last night that it will be done and ready to show at the first indoor contest, which is Urbana, Ohio, and then the second indoor contest, it'll be at the Toledo Expo and Swap Shop. And I also like to plug the Toledo Swap. Well, let's talk about the prizes. We got 2 more prizes. The second prize is a DA-85 donated by Desert Aircraft. And the third prize is a high-tech charger donated by Mike Chilson from RC Scale Builder. .com. But anyway, so the Toledo Expo, we sponsor the scale judging part of the expo. So there'll be a first prize trophy given to the best civilian, the best World War II airplane, the best World War I airplane, and the best jet. So we have those 4 categories there for competition at the Toledo show. The best in show is presented by the Toledo organizers themselves. So you have a chance to win one of those 5 awards, or all, or 2 of the 5 awards by being best of show. And we'd like to see more competition there, like Toledo used to be. Used to see a lot of models there at Toledo. There it is, ToledoSwapMeet.com. Yeah. And we'll have raffle tickets, and the prizes will all be there available to view at any indoor show that we attend. I think Dayton Modelorama has a show that'll be at the Dayton show. So any indoor show within a 3 or 4 state radius will have the model available for them to see and purchase raffle tickets. So that's about all I have. Is there any other questions?
No, I'm glad you pointed out about, because you've done this in the past with these airplanes, that they're built and ready to fly, and, person could win it and fly it the same day. I think that's great. That's really cool. And the airplanes that you have given away in the past and the current airplane are all really cool subject matter. Yeah. So.
And it's been great to work with the manufacturers and work with the all the people that have donated things. We try to publicize as best we can our thank you to them. Plus, we try to get our members to use their services. We all use Futaba radios. And Electrodynamics they're fantastic with their service and their batteries, top shelf batteries and switches and everything. And they've been great over the years. They've supported us all 15 years. We try to switch out. JR was great the last 4 years with giving us radios for the airplane, and Horizon had donated models for us for the raffle. So all the hobby organizations, all the manufacturers and that have really been good to us of donating. Valley View RC, they've been fantastic. Another one was, let's see, we had CY, Legend Hobby. Okay, they donated the plane last year, which was another Sky Raider. So they've been good at helping us out. So we like our members to use their services and to use and buy from them. So we try to stress that, and we advertise that over the year for thank you to them for helping us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the magazine, whenever we do event coverage or anything where there's sponsors, we always try to point out the sponsors because they definitely deserve, that for the help that they give. And, and speaking about help, I feel like I want to, obviously thank you, Mike, for, everything that you do for the hobby, but also you've done a lot of nice things for AMA. I mean, you did a lot of work with your company out at Site 4 to make that better for not just your events, but everyone's events. So, thank you for all that you've done for AMA and the hobby.
Well, you're welcome. And I'll tell you that was a labor of love there. It really is, because Site 4, if you haven't been there in the last 2 years, you got to go, because it is it is going to be, it is becoming a top shelf type field. I mean, the grass is nice and smooth and flat, and the shelters we have now for all they all have concrete floors in them now, and so it is going to be, and it would be indicative of having the world championships there one year. You know,
I'd
so
love that.
that,
I'd love to see that happen.
oh, I would too. I would, and I think we could make it a huge supported event by all the AMA members, and you know, to come out and see the world champs. I mean, last year I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd never been there before. It was a goal, and I achieved it, and it was just. And if I don't make the team this year, I'm going to go to the world champs anyway. So I've decided I'm going to England and support the U.S. You know, so, but it is, and thank you for the compliment on the field. It's been a joy to be a part of that and work with the AMA to get that done. And I don't think we may have electric there by the time we have the Nats, and I think the Nats run from July. You know what we can do? We haven't talked about the contest schedule, but let's see. I'm going to NASA scale. There it is. But anyway, the whole time the contest schedule is up to date on NASA scale.org. There it is. If you look at the first page there, and go down past the
We got it on the screen.
oh, good, that's it. So if we go down past the nationals there listed, you'll see upcoming events, and we start off with the 29th of March, RC Scale Building Seminar in New York. There it is. Jerry Gehring's putting that on. And then our friends in the West have the Gunsmoke Scale Classic. That's coming up April 4th. And then the Southeast Texas Scale Championships. And then Texahoma RC Qualifier. All these qualifiers are brand new to NASA. And we're working our way out to the West, okay? The Northeast Scale Challenge, that's up in the New York area. And then, of course, you'll see next we have the Nationals, U.S. Nationals, okay? And that is July the 10th through the 15th. And then my contest is August the 16th. It'll be my 12th year of having a contest in Delaware, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And then what we publicize as our year-end event is what we call the NASA Scale Classic, okay? And that's and that'll be on September. I think the date is wrong there. It's actually September the 18th and 19th, and that is at Muncie. And the reason why we have it at Muncie is because we encourage our control line friends to fly and have that their year-end event also. So both radio control and control line are all there together for the event. We call it the NASA Scale Classic. And at that event is when we'll give away our raffle prizes. So if anybody's interested in knowing when the raffle prizes will be given away at that event at Muncie, and that's at Site 4 at Muncie, and we put together a nice banquet and everything. So it's a nice way to wrap up the year of scale competition to come to that event.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground about NASA and about the worlds and on all that. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and
Thank you.
covering all these topics. And look forward to seeing you at some of the other events. I mean, I'll certainly see you at the Nats, and I'll see you at the end of year event. So, is there any last thing you want to say, Mike, before we wrap up?
If anybody interested in the scale competition, I'm always open. My email's there on the NASA site, and I think my phone number's on there. Just call me. We'll discuss it. I'll tell you everything I know from my experience in the last 35 years. So there's no secrets when you come to either my shop or see me out at the flying field. I'm glad to help anybody. And all our officers are the same. All those guys are very approachable, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. And if your club president has concerns or questions about the competition, just have them get a hold of us, and we'd like to schedule more scale competitions around the country. So, and again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we talked about it at the Blue Max about having you on the show. So, and I want to remind everyone that our next show is literally a month from today. It'll be March 21st. So we'll look forward to seeing everyone then. Again, thank you, Mike, and see everyone next month.
See you next month. Thank you.